I always thought of my neighbor as a perfectly ordinary person. He lived quietly, rarely leaving his apartment, and if we crossed paths in the elevator, he would always nod, avoiding direct eye contact. He seemed reserved, but completely harmless. Sometimes I even felt sorry for him, lonely, without guests, without family. His lights were never on in the evenings, and his door remained closed in the mornings. A veritable ghost of a house. But everything changed one night. It was around 3 in the morning. I woke up to a strange noise behind the wall, muffled thuds, like someone dropping heavy objects. At first, I thought it was renovations. But who does renovations in the middle of the night? I moved closer to the wall. I heard quick footsteps, as if someone were pacing back and forth. Then a sharp creaking sound, like furniture being dragged. And then silence. I stood in the darkness, trying to catch anything. But there was a dead silence. The next morning, I noticed something strange. There was a dark stain near his door. At first, I thought it was wine or juice. But when I leaned closer, I realized it looked like blood. I shuddered, but decided not to worry about it. Maybe my neighbor had accidentally dropped some store-bought meat? Maybe it was stupid, but I convinced myself of that. That same evening, he unexpectedly knocked on my door. He was holding a plate with a pie in his hands. He smiled and spoke politely, even too politely. But his hands were visibly shaking. And under his nails, I saw something dark. I tried to smile back, but my insides went cold. A few days later, a notice appeared in our entryway. A man is missing. He was last seen near our building. I froze, because the photo was of the man I'd seen that night in my neighbor's hallway. The same man whose footsteps I'd heard through the wall. From that moment on, I began to notice things I'd previously ignored. A strange smell emanated from his apartment in the evenings, heavy and metallic. Sometimes he'd leave with huge black bags and drive somewhere in the middle of the night. And once, I heard someone crying in his apartment. The voice was muffled, female. But when I listened closely, everything went silent. I wanted to call the police, but what should I say? That my neighbor was strange? That he had stains on his door? I was afraid it would seem funny. But the creepiest night was when I was returning home late. It was dark in the entryway, the light bulb had burned out. I went up the stairs and suddenly heard his door slowly open. From the crack, I smelled that same smell, cloying, heavy. And I saw him standing there in the darkness, simply looking at me. He didn't say anything, he just stared. I quickened my pace and slammed my door, my heart pounding so hard he seemed to hear it through the walls. Since then, I've lived in constant fear. I don't know what my neighbor is hiding behind his door, but I'm sure of one thing. He's keeping a secret, and it's too dangerous. And every time I hear his footsteps in the hallway, I think, what if one day he knocks on my door again, not with pie?